Hello, this is Mohammad Toosy, your Lean Six Sigma Master Black Belt. Today I'm going to talk about something really interesting, and that is the IT wastes. I'm going to translate the wastes which happen in information technology in such a way that it is something which is in line with the core concept of lean wastes. So, and I'm doing it based on work which was compiled by Stephen C. Bell and Michael A. Orzen. So I'm going to talk about many wastes, and these wastes are not the complete wastes. These wastes are basically something which you could call, say, a list of wastes. So if we talk about inventory, one of the wastes which we talk about in lean is excessive inventory. Backlog accumulating in electronic and physical inboxes. Old, obsolete electronic and physical files and messages that should be stored, disposed, or recycled. Clutter, physical and virtual disorganization wherever, wherever work is done or knowledge is stored and shared. Endless spreadsheets and other productivity enhancing documents that encourage local optimization while fragmenting the overall process, increasing the number of delays and handoffs and errors. Excess information across local drives, SharePoint slides, data warehouse, duplication of the same data in multiple forms, which could be either electronic or in paper form. Sending an attachment rather than links, which creates multiple versions of a document, also causing version control and security problems. Work waiting to be reviewed, approved, and forwarded. Software that's purchased but never deployed. Unnecessary, unclear, incorrect, obsolete, or unused documentation. Projects and programs that are not being considered but are still on the backlog. Backlog accumulating in the software development support or enhancement queue. Partially completed development work, uncoded documentation, unsynchronized code, untested code, undocumented code, undeployed code. Multiple software code objects that perform the same function. Introducing excessive tools, technologies, or methodologies. Unused, unnecessary software user licensed. Excessive inventory of ink cartridges and other consumables that require space and may become damaged or obsolete before they are even needed. Excessive parts inventory. Now, these are some examples regarding inventory. Now, I'm going to talk about overprocessing, which is doing more work than the customer requires. Mandated but unnecessary or overly complex process and activities. Inspection and correction activities that require to catch up and correct errors that should be prevented by building quality into the process. Producing and distributing reports that contain information which is not used. Sending people unnecessary messages such as selecting reply to all to an email message when a reply or no response is sufficient. Unused functionality designed into software. Failure to cancel a project when it is determined to be no longer viable. Goal plating system design and performance striving for perfection rather than practical adequacy. Excessive or unused reason or categorization codes configured into the software. Entering redundant information into the same multiple systems, workflow approvals, routing that are not necessary, unclear lines of decision making, responsibility, authority that cause unnecessary change, time, cost, error, and rework once a project is underway. Management reporting systems that do not align strategy with the daily activities and thus do not effectively prioritize actions, leading to efforts that do not contribute to organizational goals, which is doing the wrong work but doing it well. Frequently switching between incomplete jobs, also known as multitasking, thrashing, and task switching. Ineffective or repetitive meetings that add little value and don't resolve lingering issues. Inviting people to unnecessary meetings or meetings where they don't need to be involved. Trying to govern or manage systems or processes that are unreliable, unstable, undocumented, and too complicated to understand. Searching for information or materials that are difficult to find, excessive automated exception notifications, and alerts that cause distraction but do not drive effective action or decision making. Multiple reports containing the same or similar data, excessive analysis that does not add value to a decision, help desk troubleshooting that addresses symptoms but not root causes, non value added control activities solely for compliance purposes, cost accounting efforts that track and calculate cost per unit order event rather than a value stream cost, unnecessary transactions, capturing more information that is needed to complete the process to support decision making, capturing standard cost variances, and calculating overhead allocations in order to support process that flows. Gridlocked or unclear matrix management practices, unnecessary monthly closing activities, lack of system and process integration that causes unnecessary work, budgeting tasks that do not lead to better decision making, excessive, unnecessary, invasive, or complex security policies and procedures, printed information where electronic is sufficient, for example, presentation slides and handouts, writing something, then entering it into the computer system, printing information from one computer system, then re entering it into another, capturing data at various points along a process rather than capturing at source, information addiction, excessive emails, web surfing, social networking, and so on. Now I'm going to go to what we call overproduction, producing more or sooner than the customer requires. Unnecessary early work performed due to unclear priorities, interdependencies, or sequence. Software requirements that are specified long before coding. Producing and distributing a document days before a meeting that is then modified based upon later information and redistributed. Printing collateral materials that are quickly obsolete, making extra copies, printing single sided versus double sided, processing paperwork or information before downstream operation operators is ready for it, making and locking decisions in too early that commit resources and limit flexibility. Now I'm going to talk about waiting delays. Searching for information which often consumes a half hour or more of every individual's time each day. Delays from excessive review and approval steps, delays in receiving, transmitting, or storing information, slow application response, unnecessary distractions and interruptions, unclear line of decision making responsibility authority that cause delay, which is project approval, could be delays between coding and testing, waiting for hard copies that could have been handled electronically, metrics that are not real, having to wait to take action, which are metrics which are not real time, missing, incomplete, incorrect, obsolete, or unclear information from upstream process that require time for clarification or clarification and correction, overnight batch processing data, reports that take a long time to run, waiting for specialist who is currently working on another task or project, Discussions or decisions that take too much time because the team is not co-located or does not have the capability for online communication collaboration. Long help desk hold and callback times. Using shared equipment, waiting time for availability, plus required to reconfigure, reboot, login. Delays in determining correct groups or individuals needed for process problem resolution. Missing, incorrect, unclear, or obsolete process document which causes delays when a procedural problem or a question arises. Now, motion, transfer, or transport. We'll have this all of these together. Walking to or from a printer, copier, fax machine, filing cabinet, or archival storage. Poor user interface or process design that causes unnecessary keystrokes, mouse clicks, or navigation steps. Non-standard handoffs of information from one process step to another when it requires some form of reinterpretation of the information. Intercompany handoffs of non-standard, non-integrated information, maybe supply chain transactions. Security barriers to flow non-sensitive information. Filing or moving physical documents that could be stored and forwarded or linked electronically. Providing spreadsheet or report to more people than actually needing it. Needing to split email attachments into smaller segments due to file size limitations. Toggling between disconnected applications, emails sent responded to uninvolved people. Unnecessary movement of electronic information, sending attachments rather than linked documents, printing information from one computer, then re entering it into another, on site visits to resolve system issues that could be resolved or prevented with remote monitoring and correction, using multiple emails for dialogue when conference call or face to face meeting is more effective, manual expediting of documents, walking documents through the approval process, poor ergonomic design workstations. Now I'm going to talk about errors, defects, and rework. Incomplete, incorrect, obsolete, or unclear information from the upstream process that must be corrected. Inspection and correction process. Poor project execution. Not understanding customer user requirements and expectations, thus delivering ineffective solutions. Unstable software, hardware communications devices that make it difficult for people to get value added work done. Lost information, mixed messages from management about importance of doing work right the first time while also doing all daily work on schedule. Excessive productivity standards, measurements, and incentives that emphasize volume, speed over quality. Forming a Kaizen team to improve an automated business process without including the representative of IT, often resulting in incorrect system requirements and change requests. Application bugs and design flaws, unauthorized changes to the software systems, to software and systems, inadequate tested changes to software and systems, inadequately tested. Testing introduced too late in the life cycle of a project. Software patches applied simply to correct errors introduced by the previous patches. Assuming customer needs requirements instead of getting it directly from a customer, not asking for information or asking for the wrong information. Measurement that lacks valid perspective guidance. Time and effort required to identify and correct bad data as it propagates across multiple data sources, entering conflicting information into the same multiple systems, reconciling conflicting sources of data and subsequent disagreement over whose data is right. Consequences of estimating, pricing, forecasting, or scheduling errors, to name just a few, based on incomplete, incorrect, irrelevant, or obsolete data assumptions. Help desk knowledge base information that is incorrect, incomplete, unclear, or obsolete, resulting in a failed intervention, potentially causing additional harm and lost user productivity. Help desk interventions that do not solve the problem. due to misunderstanding, unclear communications, or problem definition, thus require further troubleshooting and correction. Missing, inaccurate, incomplete, unclear, or obsolete specifications or process documentation, errors resulting from insufficient or improper analysis and reflection, meeting conflicts and subsequent rescheduling caused by misuse of the scheduling system, inability to receive email attachments that exceed file size limits, causing rework, email spam and problems that result from excessive filtering, free text fields instead of drop downs, checkboxes, etc., that allow user errors and the propagation of bad data throughout downstream systems, requiring workers to memorize or write down data from one source to be entered into another source, unnecessary complexity, over engineering, over design of software applications, over automation of processes, premature technology intervention to improve process before the process is well understood, simplified, and improved by people responsible for it, developing complex solutions to simple and non recurring problems, spreadsheets with unnecessary complex formulas, macros, and multiple dimensions that give the appearance of sophistication while making potential errors and invalid assumptions, overly complex governance, funding prioritization, and control processes, lack of system thinking, focus on departmental optimization rather than overall performance, inappropriate or overly IT complex IT chargeback that cause ineffective behavior or and misguided investment decisions, rigid and lengthy system change upgrade cycles that encourage workarounds and offline systems, attraction to newest, latest technologies rather than existing systems that serve their purpose, not distinguishing between symptoms and root causes, profiling improvements initiatives that are not strategically aligned, prioritized, or adequately resourced, unutilized human potential, information overload, unnecessary process, data or system complexity, dull, repetitive, or mundane activities that could be eliminated or automated, unnecessary or complicated top down rules or process controls, lost, conflicting, underutilized knowledge that must be rediscovered and relearned once the problem occurs, excessive approvals needed or other bureaucracy that discourages improvement and innovation, lack of guidelines or way standards to empower employees. Too much time spent on daily work with not enough time allowed for individuals to improve the work. Not communicating the targeted objectives to all associated involved in a process. Excessive detail standards that do not allow flexibility. Lack of uh, lack lack of visuals and measures to indicate where problems need to be solved, not asking for ideas, not capturing and sharing ideas, not making knowledge easy to locate and apply, not investing in education and training, not encouraging cross functional communication and collaboration, environmental waste, electricity consumed by IT assets, paper consumed by unnecessary printing, printing single sided versus double sided, ink toner cartridges, and other recyclables that are disposed uh, prematurely or not recycled, improper disposal or material, including hazardous materials found in many electronics, using paper coffee cups instead of ceramic mugs, document storage, archive, or disposal waste, overnight shipping expenses and carbon footprint that could be reduced through electronic transport, transportation that could be reduced through telecommunicating and remote meetings, business processes causing environmental waste that could be improved with thoughtful application of information. So this is basically a bit of examples of a bit of examples of IT wastes. So I'll be coming again later with something else. And yes, anyone who's looking at my Lean Six Sigma Yellow Belt training, they can reset the exam if they haven't cleared it, or if they haven't done it yet, they can still do it till Friday. Thank you.